Spirit realm is a legalistic realm. If you prosper supernaturally, all of us will know. It can't hide himself. Paul said that your profiting may be made manifest to all. But the first on the corridor is not to serve two masters. You should become so dogged that it's an insult for certain offers to be brought to you. If they know you are there, they should be afraid. So the first thing Jesus taught that makes for supernatural prosperity is a dogged loyalty and allegiance to God. The second thing Jesus taught is for you to trust him for provisions. Because it's possible for you to build your confidence on the systems. That means no matter how impeccable the system becomes, you will never find yourself trusting the system as your sustenance. Because if you do, the system will become your father. The word father in the Hebrew is the word fundus. And fundus means foundation. And the word father in the Greek is the word pater. Pater means nourisher and sustainer. So if I'm working in an oil company, for example, there are two mentalities and mindsets I will sustain. Number one is that I am not here to be sustained. I am here as an ambassador of the kingdom to represent God's interest. Because he said in Matthew 28 verse 18, go into all the world. So this is my own world. And my promotion in that oil industry will not just be in rank. It will be the degree to which I bring the influence of the kingdom there. If I'm there for 10 years, I should have raised at least 40 disciples or 40% of the people as disciples. That's the sign that I am not there depending on salary. I am there as one sent. Because if I start depending on salary, it means I'm no longer trusting God for provision. I'm now trusting the oil industry for provision. And in the spirit realm, the oil industry becomes my father. Because that's my foundation. The oil industry becomes my sustainer. And so Jesus was teaching. You now see that prosperity does not begin with activities. Prosperity begins, number one, with nature, state. And then prosperity also begins with consciousness. This is why many people do a lot of activity, they don't prosper. Because the activity is right, but the heart posture is wrong and the consciousness is wrong. In 2 Chronicles 25 verse 2, it said, Amaziah did all that was right in the heights of God, but not with a perfect heart. So if your state is wrong, God can't prosper you. And if your consciousness is also wrong, God cannot prosper you. So the first two things Jesus was teaching about prosperity has nothing to do with activity yet. It had everything to do with what? Consciousness and state. Now, if your trust is in God, the second way you will prove it, apart from consciousness now, is that your life will be committed to doing the instructions and the ordinances of God. So the reason you give offerings is not just because you want to honor God, but your giving of offering is also, in addition to honoring God, a testimony that God is your sustainer. And so even when you don't have so much, you will still give. When you have so much, you will still give. Because you don't give because you have. You give because you trust. But when you find people who give because they were religiously programmed to give, it's when they have, they give. When they feel what they have is going down, they begin to save. Because the system of the world is save or invest to prosper. But the system of the kingdom is give to prosper. But for you to do what God said, whether you abound or abase, will be a product of your trust in God as your source. And so Jesus is saying the second key to prosperity is to trust God for your provision. And when you trust God for your provision, He surpasses your expectation. Because God is a multiplier. In 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 to verse 8, Paul the apostle was teaching. And he said, but this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall also reap bountifully. He said, every man according as he had purposed in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly, nor of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. Now, a man who believes in God as a source, these are the four dispositions he sustains when he's giving. Number one, he purposes in his heart to give. He doesn't give because a preacher preached a message. Before he came from home, what he has already prepared to come and give. Because he's not giving because he has. He gives because he trusts, and because he trusts, he will keep having. And so his giving is not instantaneous. His giving is deliberate because he knows I'm going back to my source. And so I will not be afraid of giving. So Paul said, number one, he purposes in his heart. Number two, Paul said he doesn't give grudgingly. That's a man who is growing. Number three, Paul said he doesn't give because there's a need. Many people give because there's a need in the house of God. They say they want to buy this or they want to do that. So they give to that need. Paul said you don't give out of necessity. And number four, Paul said you give cheerfully. The reason you can propose in your heart to give, the reason you will not give grudgingly, the reason you will not give only when there is a need, the reason you will give cheerfully is because you know that what you are giving is not a waste. You are giving to your source, and there is no way you can outgive God. And there's no way you can be stranded giving. Because see what Paul said. Paul said if you give like this, purposing in your heart, not grudgingly, not out of necessity, and cheerfully. This is what Paul said in verse 7. In verse 8, he said, and God is able to make all good abound towards you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, will abound unto good work. This is a strange scripture. It says God will cause all grace. That already seems impossible. So the people that walks in all grace are those that give these kinds of giving. So all grace abound towards them. That's number one. Paul said, always having. So when a man begins to give like this, he said that man we always have. So you want to find a man who always has. It's not a man who has 4 bank accounts. Is it good to have many accounts? Yes. It's not a man who has many streams of income. Is it good to have many streams of income? Yes. But that is still at the level of toiling. He said if you want to come to supernatural riches, in addition to have many streams of income, he said there's a kind of giving you will give that you will always have. And he said you don't always have. He said all sufficiency. That means you always have enough. And then he said you don't always have enough. You always have to give in every situation. Why is it so? He said God is able to make. This kind of thing doesn't happen because you are hardworking. These kinds of things happen because God is the one making. And that's why it's called supernatural prosperity. And for you to walk in this kind of prosperity, he said you must trust God as your supplier. There are many people that when their incomes go down, their tithing stops. There are many people when their income go down, their offerings stop. There are many people when their incomes go down, their giving to the poor stops. Why? Because they don't trust that God is their supplier. So what they give is actually from what they have to spare. And whenever they no longer have to spare, their giving stop. This is why very few believers are walking in supernatural prosperity. The third thing Jesus taught is for you to keep your heart at peace. You will see that most of the teachings of Jesus on this subject are more intrinsic than they are extrinsic. They are more internal than they are external. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 25, it said, therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor of what your body need. It says, for life is more important than meat, and the body than raiment. What is Jesus teaching you? Is Jesus trying to say become irresponsible? No. In fact, Paul was teaching, he said, if any man does not walk, let him not eat. God is not teaching irresponsibility, but God is telling you, never allow anxiety come into your soul because of mundane things. No matter where you are, ensure that your heart is at peace. And the way a man puts his heart at peace is when his heart is stayed towards God. It says he shall keep him in perfect peace. Isaiah 26 verse 3, whose heart is stayed on him. And so the third secret of prosperity in the doctrine of Christ is a state of inner peace. When you allow anxiety enter your heart, even the things that are yours, you will lose them. And when Paul was teaching on this, he said, be anxious for nothing. Philippians 4, 6, and 7. I'm showing you why men don't prosper. That's why I told you it's a map. It said, be anxious for nothing. It said, but in all things by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. It said, let your requests be made unto God. And it said, the peace of God that surpasses knowledge will guard your heart. It didn't say God will give you your answer. The moment peace comes, your answer comes. But if you allow anxiety, anxiety will now rob you of what you have. Because anxiety will uproot the first two protocols. When a man begins to walk in anxiety, it means his trust is not in God. He said, but they that trust in the Lord shall be like Mount Zion, that shall not be moved. And so Jesus is saying, in order to walk in a kind of prosperity that only God gives, it's important for your heart to be at peace always. That's why I said, what profit does worrying do for you? It cannot add a cubit to your stature. But when you talk to Christians today, even while they are giving, it's in anxiety. And you'll find them running helter-skelter. 12 midnight, they are naked, calling on the name of the Lord. And the person said he's in faith. And this person who is in faith has called 30 people, 8 a.m. in the morning. He said, we are trusting the Lord, but if there's anything you can do, my brother, do something. I'm strong, I'm strong. He knows that him and his brother knows the meaning of I'm strong. Instead of praying his way into peace. Now, I learned this by experience. There was a time I hadn't any amount of money. I called everybody. Nothing will happen. Even the people I felt should be indebted to me. And I knew some of them had money when I called them. That was when I discovered those who give when they need money. The devil will try to discourage them from giving next time. When stingy people ask for money, somehow they easily get. But the men who are liberal and givers, when they need money, nobody will. Because even the people think they have. Because they assume that they are giving because they have more than enough. And so when a liberal person is asking for help, nobody gives. And the devil uses that to stop him from giving. And I was almost frustrated. And that was when the Lord spoke to my heart. He said, woe unto him that putteth his trust in the arm of flesh. He said, woe. That means you are cursed. Woe unto him that putteth his trust in the arm of flesh. He said, for the arm of flesh shall fail him. He said, it shall be like a parched place in the wilderness, a salt land where there is no water.